What's up, guys? I want to share a story real quick about someone that I was working with that was looking at buying a very large FedEx route business. And what was happening was a particular strategy that I've seen used by sellers or brokers, doesn't matter who it's coming from, but the fact is I've seen it happen more often than not. And it happens with large FedEx businesses. And what's happening is they'll say things like, hey, we care about your success here. We really care about you. We want you to be successful. And so what we're going to do, we're going to sell half the routes initially on day one, and then we're going to wait 2 months, maybe 3 months. You set up another corporation, and then we'll sell the other routes to you then. That way you're not overwhelmed, and you can get your feet wet a little bit on how the operations are going. We care about your success. Now, whether that's true or not, who knows? But what we do know is that's not really why they're doing that. The reason why they're doing that and splitting it up like that is because they're trying to violate scale rules. Scale rules are basically the rules, explicit or implicit, that FedEx basically dictates to say, hey, we don't want you getting too big. We don't want you over a certain size. It used to be that the common scale rule was that no single contractor under a single terminal, under a single corporation can control more than 1/6 of the incoming or outgoing package volume in that terminal. Now, granted, there's a lot of differences these days. There are exceptions. Different terminal managers make different exceptions. Different terminals have different limits and all sorts of stuff like that. But the point is like that was kind of like the generalized rule. We're not really in that environment so much because obviously people are far beyond that. But the reality is that the reason why they're trying to split those businesses up and want you to set up 2 corporations and wait is because they're trying to get around the approval process at corporate. So they're saying, hey, sell these things over. It goes up to corporate and they're like, looks good to me. They hit the approval, the routes transfer. And then whenever it comes up under a different corporation, they're like, oh, well, maybe this is a different corporation. We're good to go. Whether that goes through or not, we don't know. And so sometimes whenever you get to that second half of buying those routes, like corporate or terminal management or whatever, say, hey, you're too big. We don't want contractors over this size limit, and that will put you over the size. We're not going to approve it. And so for someone that bought this business expecting all of the routes, for it to be worth their time, they needed all the routes to make all the net income. They're like, hey, this business wasn't worth it for me. And the seller's like, hey, man, I did the best I could. I was really surprised that they didn't approve you, but now he's offloaded half of his routes. He just needs to do the same thing again to someone else because he can't sell it all at once because it's too damn big. And so the reality is that they will try to split these things up to hide it, whether it's from terminal management, whether it's from corporate, because they're not supposed to be that large. Now, granted, people do this and they do it all the time. And whether you feel that it's an okay thing to do to mislead terminal management, or maybe there's been an exception granted for that terminal that you can get over those limits, that's fine. But you need to be aware of the real reasons why they're trying to split it up. It's not because they're fearful that you're going to be overwhelmed or they want you to be successful. Granted, maybe that's true, but you also have to remember the other reason they're doing it, which is to make sure that this thing can transfer to begin with, or to lure in a bigger pool of buyers that want larger routes with larger net incomes, and that brings in more people, and then they stair-step them in, and they say, oh, sorry, this was... gosh, we just couldn't have foreseen this coming. Sorry you couldn't get approved for that second batch of routes. I know this business wouldn't even been worth it for you if you could have only gotten half of them, but hey, stuck with them now. And then they go sell the other half. So if you see this thing happen where they're just sounding like they want to split things up, no big deal, we're just trying to help out, just be aware. There's other things going on. Anyway, hopefully this helps. Drop a comment, like, subscribe, do all the good stuff. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.